Okay, this is almost Memorial Day weekend, and this is Ralph and Claire Hunter, and they are the co-original founders of the Longboat Key Historical Society Incorporated. So, Ralph and Claire Hunter.
Thank you. First of all, the date is almost Memorial Day
26.
2006. Right.
26.
26, yeah.
2011.
Yeah. And we're going to tell about the history of Longboat Key. And actually, the Gulf was 6 feet lower in 800 AD than it is today. Therefore, there are no artifacts. They're all underwater. We found a few, but very few. The Calusa and Timucua Indians were here first, usually on vacation. Most of them were tall and athletic and tanned, and the Spanish were 5'6" or so, and the Indians were very good shape. They were over 5'6" for sure, and sun tanned, and oh, they were great. They also were in Sarasota, of course, and they had middens or garbage heaps in Sarasota. And they had one 100 feet high north of Whitaker Bayou. I'm sorry, it was 100 feet north of Whitaker Bayou. It is 35 feet high. And in it they found Maya relics from South and Central America. And of course, to the early Sarasotans, they were perfect for roads. They were all shells. So they used all the revenue, all the middens for roads, so they disappeared. In 1538, the Spanish were in Longboat Key, and the Indians didn't like that at all. The Indians built beach fires, and DeSoto and Juananesco was here, the Indians were, and they brought smallpox, chickenpox, and they sought gold, and they had 12 ships and 600 men and fighting dogs. They were looking for gold. Well, the gold was Dahlonega, Georgia, but they didn't know that. They never found any, of course. 1719, the French and Spanish fight over Florida. Don't know who won. 1763, the Indians had been reduced to 80 families. Not many left on Longboat Key, for sure. Most of them moved to Cuba. The Seminoles stayed. The Seminoles mean wanderers, and many slaves joined the Seminole tribes. It's not really a tribe, it was an amalgam of a whole bunch of Indians who were moving south to get away from some of the other tribes, the Cherokees, for example. 1818, war with Andy Jackson. 1819, Spain ceded Florida to the United States. 1821, Jean Lafitte was here. Only Gordon Whitney said, no, that's John Lafitte. It's Lefett. Lefett's Key is named after John Lafitte. And if you want to, Ralph, let's dig a little hole here. I think we'll find something here on Lefett's Key. Well, we never did. 1835 and 1855, the Seminoles Wars. They were fighting against the Americans who were coming down here and driving them out. And at one time, Billy Bowlegs was their chief. He had a garden near Fort Myers, and the American soldiers didn't like that garden. As a matter of fact, they loved the garden, but it was really Bowlegs, so they destroyed it. And that was what brought on the Second Seminole War. The American soldiers just completely destroyed his beautiful garden, and it was beautiful. And not much we could do about it. Incidentally, Mary Jane Wyatt lived in Manatee County, and she was a feisty gal. She weighed 80 pounds, and she married Bill Whitaker. They had 8 children. That's pretty good for Mary Jane Wyatt. Okay, 1842, the Armed Occupation Act. Everybody got 160 acres who applied. It was quickly repealed because the Senate realized that the common people would get land, and you can't have that happen. So they repealed it. 1848, a hurricane hit. It hit New Pass, and Bill Whitaker Mary woke up one day and said, "Hey, look, there's a new pass, and that's what it got its, how it got its name. 1858, March of Tears to Oklahoma. The Americans rounded up all the remaining Indians and sent them to Oklahoma via Egmont Key, and that was the end of the Seminoles. 1861 Civil War, Florida's greatest contribution was cattle to the Confederates. 1862, the Homestead Act. On Longboat Key, 22 people filed for land. It was all plotted, and if you wanted to apply for it, you had to go through a lot of red tape, same as today. But 22 people filed for land on Longboat Key. A lot of them built here. At the end of the Civil War, Judah Benjamin, who was the Secretary of War in the Confederacy, right after the war, he took some money and he fled. And they never found him. Why? Because he came to Florida. And he came to that house in Manatee, what's the name of it?
Gamble Mansion.
The Gamble Mansion. And he came to the Gamble Mansion and hid out. And it was a very interesting story about him. He hid out there for a while, and then he decided he wanted to get to England. Get to England? That's exactly what he did. Some sympathizers came along, let him have a boat, and he took off from Manatee County through the inland waterway, what there was of it, and he passed right by Longboat Key for sure. He had to. Finally, he ends up way down south of Florida and on the Keys, and he finally escapes to Cuba. And once he's there, he hires a boat and gets to England. He had quite some adventures there because there was a typhoon and a few other things, but he bribed his people. He had stolen a lot of Confederate money, and so he bribed a lot of people and got to England, where, believe it or not, he resumed his legal profession and was very successful in England as a lawyer. And I think he died in England. In 1891, the Rivers and Harbors Act dredged the bay. Thomas Mann applied for and got 144 acres. As a matter of fact, the property is exactly where Claire and I are now. It was on the north end of Longboat Key, 144 acres, oh boy. Anyway, then Thomas Mann sold it eventually. I think he sold it for $500 for the 144 acres in the north end of Longboat Key. That's a pretty good buy. 1895, the Mistletoe opened up the bay, and they said that was the greatest thing that ever happened to Sarasota, the Longboat Key, when they dredged the bay. And sure enough, the Mistletoe, the boat you've seen, came across. 1907, the Longboat Key Post Office was established on the south end of Longboat Key, where Corey's Landing is now. And Sally Bannon was there. She was a gal from Arcadia. She and her husband.
No.
Is that right? No. Where was Sally Bannon?
She was on the north end.
Oh.
Me in the picture.
Oh yeah. She was in the north end. I forgot that. Sally Bannon's mother sold the place to the Holtz family, right?
Yep.
And the Holtz family established it. They never lived in it though. And finally Helen sold the house about 10 years ago. Helen Holtz sold it. And it's been destroyed. Jake Rupert of Yankee fame. Remember Rupert's beer? Well, he bought 37 acres for $25,000. Was going to build a hotel. That didn't work out. Either it didn't work out or it burned. I can't remember. 1911, 1912, we had some newspapers. The Longboat, I forget what they call it. I think it was a Sarasota paper. But in 1921, believe it or not, Longboat Key was split in two by an act of Congress, by an act of the state legislature. Why? Because Manatee County was so big it reached all the way down to Lake Okeechobee, So in 1921, they cut up Manatee County and established about 5 other counties. One of them was Sarasota County. So the surveyors had done the whole thing, and they had lines, and so they took one line and drew it across the state where they were making new counties, and one of them crossed Longboat Key. Trouble was, north of the line was Manatee County, and south of it was Sarasota County. They didn't care, so Longboat Key was split in 2, and it's been that way ever since. Sarasota County was created then, of course. Then we had a hurricane that year, and a lady by the name of Bessie Boston from Arcadia Phone Company. She and her husband here, they came to Longboat Key because they heard that the tomato farming was very, very good. So they came down here, rented a house, and did very, very well with tomatoes. Well, they had a marvelous time. But then the storm hit, and it hit so hard that it flooded most of Longboat Key with salt water. As far as they were concerned, Bessie Boston's husband went out to see what was going on and found that the chickens in the chicken coop were floating. So he figured, wow, this must be a big one. So, and it was. Bessie heard a horn during the night, and she wondered what it was. So she went out with a big pole and her baby's diaper on the top of it and waved it, and sure enough, the horn blew again. So she didn't know what to do. It was raining so hard, she stayed in. And in the morning, she told her husband, he said, well, let's go out and look for it. So they did. They went out and looked for it, and they found it. It was a boat, and the boat was in a tree, believe it or not. And they threw him a rope, and they got him down, and the Bostons then returned to Arcadia, thank you very much. And
Ruined the salt water.
the salt water ruined all the farming on Longboat Key. Oh boy. 1926, Longboat Pass Bridge was built by the county. It was floated away in 1932, and the remains of it were taken to Palmetto, of all places, where it became the bridge became a landmark in Palmetto. It was in Palmetto, yeah. And it was replaced in 1958 with the bridge that stayed. It was replaced in 58 with the present bridge. The Ritz-Carlton Hotel started in 26. Longboat and the hotel were cut off from the city of Sarasota in return for Ringling Bridge and lower taxes. They wanted lower taxes, so the city of Sarasota said, okay, fine, we'll cut you off from the city. And Ringling said, that's fine, you can have the bridge now and lower the taxes. And that's how they did. New Pass Bridge was built in 27. In Okeechobee in 1928, a hurricane over there killed 2,000 migrant workers. The migrant workers were over there picking the crops, and the hurricane hit, and they fled. Only the hurricane went north, and then all of a sudden the storm surge came south and killed 2,000 migrants.
I think a levee broke or something like that.
Levee broke, or whatever it was.
Something.